Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you reference types and value types in action. I'm going to use two different examples. So I'm going to start with a simpler one. First, I'm going to create an integer variable. So a is 10. Now I'm going to create another variable called b and copy a to b. And finally, I'm going to increment b by 1. So I'm going to use the increment operator. Now I got a question for you. What do you think the value of a is going to be at this point? Is it going to be 10 or 11? The answer is 10, because integers are value types. So when we copy a value type to another variable, a copy of that value is taken and stored in the target location in memory. So let's verify this. I'm going to use console.writeLine. And here I'm going to display a and b on the console. What is a good way to display a and b? We can use string format. Remember string format? So string.format. Here we supply a format string. So 0 and 1 here are placeholders. And now we supply arguments to fill these placeholders. So a and b here. Now let's run the application with Control and F5. So look, a is 10 and b is 11. So the lesson is, when you copy a value type to a different variable, a copy of that value is taken and stored in the target variable. That's why we call them value types. Their values are copied. Let me show you what just happened in memory. So imagine here is the stack, and somewhere in the stack we have a location identified by a, and in that location we have the value 10. When we copy a to b, a new location in memory in stack is created, identified as b, and the value we had there in a is copied to b. That's why these two variables are now completely independent, and making a change to one does not impact the other. Now let's see reference types in action. So this time I'm going to create an integer array. And as you know, in C#, an array is a class. So it's a reference type. So let's create array1. And here I'm using the object initialization syntax to initialize my array with 1, 2, 3. Now I copy this array1 into another variable called array2. And finally, I'm going to make a modification to array2. So let's say I want to set the first element to 0. At this point, what do you think is going to be the first element of array1? Is it going to be 1 or 0? It's going to be 0. Let's go back to the memory visualization again and see what happens when we run this code. So here we've got stack and heap. When we create and initialize array1, this is what's going to happen. First, an object is going to be created on the heap. This object is in a memory location with the address you see here. And inside this memory location, we have the actual array with 3 elements, 1, 2, 3. Next, the runtime or CLR creates a variable on the stack identified as array1. The value inside this variable or inside this memory location is a memory address. And that's the address of the object on the heap, the actual array. So array1 points or references the object on the heap. So this is what happens when we create and initialize array1. Now let's see what happens when we copy array1 to array2. So the runtime creates another variable on the stack identified as array2. And again, inside this variable, we're going to have a memory address. And as you see in this picture, this address is the address of the object on the heap. That's why both array1 and array2 point to the same object, which means when we make any changes on this object on the heap, either through array1 reference or array2, the changes are visible through the other variable. That's why we call these types reference types. So when we copy them, their reference or their memory address is copied, not the actual value. So back to the code, let's verify this. Again, I'm going to use console.writeLine and string.format. So I display the first element of both array1 and array2, and they both should be 0. Let's run the application. They both are 0.